What up, Ho Biscuits? It's your girl Skitten, back at it again. And drum roll, please. Ladies and gentlemen, her.
Hello. Wow, this is very exciting. This is a very new experience for me. I'd like to introduce myself.
You've never met her.
No.
You've never seen her before.
New
ever.
and improved, reformulated.
Honestly, truly.
Now with 30% more everything. It's me. It's me. What if people do that thing? The thing that keeps happening to me where people are like, no, you've always had that.
I mean, do you want to just tell them what's different about your face?
I mean, they should know by now.
Okay, but they might not know.
But what if they don't know?
If they don't know, then we should
What
tell
if they think I'm the old one? But I'm not.
She's a new one.
I'm the new one.
Clearly.
This is me. Hi, hello.
She's clearly a new one. She's clearly.
Clearly, right here. I don't zoom in. Look directly into. Don't do that. That's weird.
I'm definitely
don't
zooming
do
in.
that.
I'm gonna zoom all the way into your nose.
Like a super adorable, super fine caterpillar, I have emerged.
I was like, a caterpillar, what?
Yeah, because now I'm a badass butterfly. Look at my face. Look at my face.
Look at her face.
Look at my face. Nobody can tell me anything anymore.
She was very excited. When I tell you guys, y'all, I love this woman more than life itself. Okay,
Which is stupid.
Would die for her.
Dumb.
Sacrifice. I don't really have any relatives, but I would find one to sacrifice for her,
Don't
right?
do that.
Right? If a gunman was like, it's either your best friend or your great aunt, I'm definitely picking her. I don't even know that
She's
bitch.
old anyways. So.
But anyway, I love this woman to death, right?
Because I'm great. Because I'm
When
fantastic.
I tell you that the
Metamorphosis.
day that she got this piercing is the closest I have ever come to strangling her.
You can't kill me. I'm a bad bitch.
Like, she was so pleased with her. She kept saying, I can't even breathe. I'm so happy I can't breathe. I was like, girl, I need you to chill like a little bit. And then we went to go eat, right? We went to go eat and she was just like,
And she goes, I know you're pretty, friend. I'm like, pretty? No, that's not it at all. I'm unstoppable now.
the way my friend definitely was like, I am a god.
Avert your gaze. When I speak to you, you stare at the ground.
This is unrelated to everything that we are doing today. I hope you
technically.
guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying safe and sanitized. We really just wanted you to behold the glory of her face, but also...
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I wanted something dramatic.
We are here to watch a video. The title of this video is Why Everyone Wants to Eat This Corpse.
What?
SCP-1176. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
If you've ever studied ancient Egypt in your history class, then you're probably familiar with the way they buried their pharaohs. When a king of Egypt died, their body would be entombed in a huge sarcophagus, usually after being mummified. Mummification was the process that the ancient Egyptians used to preserve their dead, safeguarding a corpse with special chemicals and the application of cloth almost like bandages. This was done to keep cadavers from decaying, usually
Could they
because
just
of the
be called
belief that
bandages?
this would carry over into the afterlife. And it wasn't just the Egyptians that practiced mummification either. Mummies of human beings or animals have been found on almost every continent in the world.
Okay, I didn't know
Sometimes a
that.
body can even be accidentally mummified through exposure to extreme cold, lack of oxygen, or other environmental factors that help keep the deceased preserved. Fun fact, the oldest recorded mummy isn't even one left behind by the ancient Egyptians. It is actually a naturally mummified severed head, estimated to be 6,000 years old. It was unearthed in South America in 1936.
And then y'all stole
Yes,
it.
corpse
Got it.
preservation techniques can indeed be strange, but none are stranger than SCP-1176, also known by the nickname, the Mellified Man. Now, as you may have already pieced together, the Mellified Man is a mummified corpse.
Friend. My dearest friend.
No, don't touch me. No, don't touch me. No.
Friend of my heart. Friend of my soul.
You know what? No, you know what it is? It's not our fault. We are different people fundamentally. It's the 5G.
That's
It's
right.
the
Hive
5G
mind. It's the hive mind because of the
vaccinated,
vaccine. Yeah.
so-
Yeah. Let's just try not to speak the same words at the same time for the rest of the video. Let's just try to do that.
We can do it. We can for sure.
But not quite like the ones you would expect to find buried in the pyramids. Estimated by Foundation researchers to have been a man in his mid-30s when he died, SCP-1176 is a corpse that has degraded so much over the centuries that it has made DNA examination impossible. According to some of the SCP Foundation's best minds, SCP-1176 is possibly of Arabian ancestry and thought to have passed away sometime during either the 10th or the 11th centuries AD.
What?
This is certainly not your ordinary mummy, and it definitely isn't like the kind you'd see in a cheesy black and white horror movie or on an old episode of Scooby-Doo. SCP-1176 is absolutely, undoubtedly dead by all clinical definitions. It doesn't show any signs of breathing, and the processes of blood circulation or metabolism have long since stopped.
Got it.
However, despite the decay suffered by the rest of the body, SCP-1176's brain seems to have remained intact for almost 10 whole centuries.
Okay.
Not just intact, but active. The
How
Foundation's
awful.
researchers have confirmed that the brain has a constant level of electrical activity, consistent with people experiencing stage 3 non-rapid eye movement sleep, known colloquially
What a gross
as
graphic.
deep sleep. So, a mummy with an active, albeit dormant brain. How does an ancient culture manage to achieve preservation like this? Alien technology? Cryogenic sleep chambers? Suspended animation? No,
Witches.
not quite. SCP-1176 exists in its current state in part because the body has been mellified.
What is
Now, this
mellified?
was a process a lot like mummification, but instead of wrapping them in cloth, a mellified man or a human mummy confection was created by submerging a
Ooh.
dead body in honey. According to historical
gross.
records, elderly men in Arabic countries would sometimes willingly volunteer themselves for this process. Why? Because the goal was to turn their bodies into a healing confection.
No.
In
I had
other
a
words,
feeling.
an elaborate sweet delicacy created from a
No.
preserved
Is
corpse.
that sweet and
That's
sour?
right. Ancient cultures had candy made from dead people. All
I mean,
It's like, you know how there's those like lollipops
with the
with
bugs
like
in
with bugs in them.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like that, but with
But-
people.
Soylent Green is made of people. Well, okay. So if I was gonna be eaten, right?
Hmm.
In a violent way. Thank you. Okay, so first of all, definitely dead prior. That's key. I don't want to be like murdered and like that's gross. But being turned into candy isn't that bad.
So you'd like to die peacefully and then be turned into candy.
I would like to be turned into jewelry, but if someone's going to eat me, I would like to die peacefully, and then I would like to be a candy. Yes.
Okay.
Because
You don't want to die like via zombie attack because then they're technically eating you, but it's a violent death.
you're dying, but you're being eaten alive. I do not
Right.
want. I want to be dead, and then eaten. But like ideally, I would not be eaten at all. That's disrespectful.
Right. Don't defile her corpse.
Yes. Thank you.
But if you have to defile her corpse, do it with sugar.
No. With honey, because the mellification process, it's mellifluous is a beautiful word. I like the word mellow, mellification, honey, or nothing. Okay, and you can't sing that song while you do it. No. Now I don't know if I want it anymore.
I'm
Okay.
gonna sing that over your mellified body.
I will get up and haunt you.
All the information the Foundation has gathered about SCP-1176 seems to point to the body being one such mellified man. When extracting the
like-
remaining bodily fluids from the corpse,
Girl.
instead of finding blood or other normal substances, Foundation researchers discovered that SCP-1176 was full of a viscous gold-colored liquid that they designated as
Don't taste it. They're
SCP-1176-1.
He's not
Further
dead.
testing of this fluid revealed it to be, you
Sort of.
guessed it, honey. Specifically, it was a type known as clover honey, made by a species called the Anatolian honeybee. This stuff was everywhere, filling SCP-1176 entirely. So much so that honey was even coming out of the body's pores.
What pores
This
does
is
it have
due to the
left?
nature of the mellification process. Typically, before death, a person who had offered to sacrifice their own body would stop eating any food.
Okay.
Instead, their diet would consist solely of honey and nothing else. They would even bathe in it, submerging their entire body in the substance inside and out until their sweat and even their feces were pure honey. This honey-only diet would eventually kill the donor, and their corpse would be placed in a stone coffin, which was also filled up with even more honey. After approximately 100 years, what would be left was human mummy confection, a honey-based candy of sorts that could be then sold at street markets for a high-value price.
So honey can be
Why
used
was
to
it so
preserve
expensive?
things?
Well, not just because it was literally made from a dead person, but also because this confection was believed to possess rare and powerful healing properties.
So, technically, kind of, honey doesn't expire.
Right.
So, the story I heard a long, long time ago is that they were, investigating things, looking stuff, and they found honey. And then the student tasted the honey because honey doesn't expire, technically. Honey is used to preserve things. So, it was a baby in this honey, or presumably, whatever, not the point. But then I was like,
He ate a baby?
No, they ate a little bit of honey that had a dead baby in it. They tasted something that was...
That just sounds like eating a baby with extra steps.
It's not like they ate the whole thing. They just, do... And it's like an urban legend. It's probably not even true. They probably didn't even eat this baby. But they didn't... I feel...
somebody's baby.
See, that was the funny part. Everybody swallowed a kid or two.
I'm playing the video now.
Everything from the common cold to broken bones was said to be cured by it. Despite it leaking out of SCP-1176, the honey doesn't seem to ever run out, even when tested under varying conditions. It seems like the mellified man actively produces more of the sweet golden substance, acting as the source rather than a container with a finite amount. And yes, it is still edible after several centuries. In fact, it contains an abundance of essential vitamins and nutrients. According to the Foundation's testing, the honey produced by SCP-1176 can suppress the feeling of hunger for up to 18 whole hours. And there are no long-term side effects for most that eat it. However, this is not the case for everyone. The Foundation has learned that any person without the blood type AB positive will have a severe allergic reaction should they consume any of SCP-1176-1. The symptoms include acute hemolysis, which means the red blood cells won't break down properly, and renal failure, which is when the kidneys stop functioning. This all results in death for most of the subjects without AB positive blood who were fed SCP-1176-1. The symptoms for these unlucky people were the same as receiving an incompatible blood type after a transfusion. In 1985, the SCP Foundation launched a raid on a facility in Asmara, Eritrea, which at the time was owned by a group called the Mana Charitable Foundation. Agents had been dispatched to this facility after various rumors and reports that pointed to this location being the source of a strange honey substance. This anomalous liquid was being shipped to a number of areas in Ethiopia that had been stricken with famine. Pretty easy to guess where the Mana Charitable Foundation got all that honey, right? The problem was, because SCP-1176-1 caused adverse effects on people without AB-positive blood, a considerable amount of civilians had died from consuming it. Hence, the SCP Foundation was forced to step in. When SCP-1176 was first uncovered, the body had been stored inside a large stone sarcophagus, as was part of the ancient practice of creating a mellified man. There was also a copper pipe and spigot installed by the Mana Charitable Foundation to extract the honey from within. The lid, sides, and inside of the sarcophagus itself had a number of Egyptian hieroglyphics inscribed within. These were mostly spells and ceremonial texts written as a way to protect the individual that was to become the mellified man. There were also inscriptions written in a dialect that was an early precursor to the Arabic language. However, these sections had been replaced with updated versions in classical Arabic. One of these read, Abdallah ibn Salah ibn Ayyub ibn Nasir, 15th son of the great Sheikh illegible, was put to the fast of honey on the 1st of Rajab in the year of the Hijrah 3 illegible, and died on the 15th of Ramadan. The great Imam al-Yusuf has sealed him within the ancient vessel. marked with the signs decreed by the ancients to ferment in honey for 100 years and bring aid to the people in time of
Okay,
need.
but he didn't die.
Much
'cause
like a
his brain is still
headstone used to
active.
mark the grave of someone who has passed, the sarcophagus that SCP-1176 was in featured a passage commemorating a man who gave his life and body to heal others.
Okay.
Sounds nice, right? But there was another inscription
gosh.
written
Of course there
elsewhere
is.
on the
But wait,
stone
there's
sarcophagus,
more.
which translated a dire warning. Beware, Imam, for the mark of Iblis is upon this one. According to the rest of the second inscription, the tomb containing SCP-1176 had been opened before. During a time of great famine, Imam al-Malik had ordered it to be opened so that SCP-1176-1 honey could be used to feed the starving people. Jars upon jars were filled with the anomalous golden liquid and brought to the sheikh, the ruler of the land, as well as sent to the people suffering from the lack of food. However, the very next day, a number of these people
Right, so
fell
we're AB
ill,
positive.
stricken by a
Blood
terrible
type still
fever that
exists, but he
ultimately
couldn't
claimed
age
their
that.
lives. Only
So
the
he was
sheikh,
cursed
his
all
brothers, and his sons, who had all eaten the honey, survived. Any others who hadn't been killed by the fever accused the sheikh and his family of sorcery, and these surviving subjects attempted to destroy the body that had produced this cursed nectar. But when the sheikh's people found the mellified man, they witnessed in horror as the body stood upright,
I'm
dancing
sorry?
around as it screamed and taunted
Why
the
did he-
people.
why did-
Al-Malik declared that the devil himself sent an evil spirit to corrupt SCP-1176. The honey confection was meant to be a means of healing, but it had been corrupted.
Oh, God.
The sarcophagus was then sealed, and the inscription on it finished with the following caution to any that found it. May God strike down any who would break these seals.
Oh,
Countless
okay.
centuries later,
Jesus.
once the SCP Foundation had recovered
break the seal?
SCP-1176 and the sarcophagus containing it, they began testing with the mellified
Yes,
man.
so yes, they broke the
Their goal was to determine how much of the SCP-1176-1 honey the ancient corpse could produce, perhaps in the hopes of using this substance as a form of
But you
hunger-relieving
can't, because
field
you
ration
cannot
for
feed it
their
to people.
operatives. Removing the body from its sarcophagus, Foundation researchers placed SCP-1176 on a metal grate designed to drain the honey as it was produced instead of allowing it to build up. Over the course of several hours, more and more honey seemed to be produced, beginning at a rate of almost a liter per hour to almost 56 liters every hour.
What?
But then, after 10.5 hours of producing what seemed like an endless flow of honey, something unexpected
Hopefully sometime they got
happened.
up.
The deceased body of the mellified
Yes.
man, dead for hundreds
100%.
if not thousands of years, woke up. Foundation staff detected a spike in brain activity. If you cast your mind back to earlier, you'll remember that SCP-1176's brain had managed to survive and stay intact long after it should have decayed.
Right, yes.
The mellified man opened his eyes and immediately started to wildly flail around. He made a number of distressed sounds, the long dead body trying to crawl towards the outskirts of the
poor
testing
man.
chamber. Thanks to so many of its organs and muscles having withered
say,
away
this
over the
isn't gonna
years,
go
SCP-1176 was barely able to see or understand its surroundings. It couldn't
bleak.
speak. Not properly, anyway,
This is
given
so
that its tongue
upsetting.
had long since decayed.
I have no mouth. But I must scream.
The Foundation's personnel moved in to try and restrain the ancient and now animated body, hoping to sedate it before SCP-1176 caused
Don't
any
hurt
lasting
yourself.
damage to
We're
itself.
draining you.
Eventually, staff were able to force SCP-1176 back into its sarcophagus,
Okay.
slamming the stone lid back in place and trapping it within. They could hear the once human creature screeching and vocalizing from inside.
Hold up. So y'all. So y'all stole this thing, right? Went in, got it because it's anomalous, whatever. You're doing your job.
Technically, yeah.
Drained it of honey
Weirdly.
for hours and hours and hours.
56 liters per hour at one point.
Unknown how many hours, but a lot of fucking hours. He wakes up being drained of his,
Life force?
I guess, whatever.
Fluids.
And then you guys just, he's been asleep, right? His brain has
Decaying.
been working and he's been decaying for centuries. And y'all just,
Put it back in the box.
he's awake now. He doesn't go back in the box. He's awake.
It's like when your parents would just turn the lights off when you were a kid and say, like, go to sleep. No, just put the lid on it. Shh.
Like, that's not, this is torture. Like, what?
Pushing against the inside of the stone coffin with its head and limbs. It took 3 whole hours of this for the mellified man to return to
Y'all let him in. You let him do this for 3 hours?
What else were they supposed to do?
Sedate him or something.
How?
I don't know.
He has no blood circulation. He has no organs. He has a brain,
I guess.
technically.
its usual state, by which time its ancient bones were fractured beyond repair. SCP-1176 is a sad tale of a man who had willingly given his life to be a source of healing for people in need. He allowed himself to be mellified, turning into a confection that could bring an end to famine. And yet somehow, this was corrupted and turned into something that spread fever and pestilence. For now, the mellified man sleeps, but his brain is still alive inside.
Yeah, but now he's
While
broken.
he might be asleep, he may never be able to rest.
Thanks, I guess. Thanks for that.
Well, he might be asleep. He may never manage to rest.
That's just so. This was such a distressing SCP. Not all SCPs are this distressing, but there's literally no upside to this SCP at all.
Yes, there is. Ha, negative Nancy. If I had AB positive? AB positive blood, this would be fantastic.
But you don't.
If I did, I'd be the world's like #1 cannibal. I would eat once every 18 hours and it would just be honey, maybe the occasional snack, and I'd be good. I'd be great. I'd be fantastic. The rest of you hoes might be dead. But you know what? No one told you to eat my food, which is definitely the fluids of a dead person.
Yeah, 100%. Super gross. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Don't forget to leave your reaction requests and recommendations down in the comments below.
Yeah.
And other than that, peace out, Ho Biscuits. It's
I wasn't even gonna do anything.
Skittenlit.